Chapter 11.
Lockhart? Draco asked in surprise, his gaze on Hermione, who seemed to shrink away. Are you infatuated with Lockhart? Her face glowing a bright red, Hermione fiddled nervously with the latest charm on her bracelet, an intricate Medusa head next to a Kali Yentra. Twisting the snakes around it was her way of coping with teasing. It's not what you think, she snapped defensively. Oh, it's absolutely a crush, Ron chimed in with glee, his enthusiasm for ribbing Hermione blatantly apparent as he leaned in. She doodled hearts all over her timetable, especially around his classes. Draco feigned gagging, pretending to be overtaken by nausea, and noted Potter stifling a laugh. She even aced that quiz about him, knowing every answer. What? Draco burst out, annoyance dripping from his words. He'd heard about the quiz in advance but had forgotten to prepare. I failed that quiz. And I've always been good at defense. Hermione's expression soured. Defense wasn't her forte, not until it seemed this year. She earned Gryffindor extra points, Ron laughed, because she was the only one who knew those obscure answers. Plus, she keeps calling him a great teacher, despite the fiasco with those pixies, and says he's being a caring mentor when he tries to teach Harry about handling fame. Seriously? Draco said slowly, disbelief seeping into his voice. It was understandable that adolescence was tricky with hormones running wild, as he knew firsthand from awkward adjustment periods during his own teenage years. Yet, to let these feelings overrule her academic integrity? You genuinely think he's a competent teacher? Hermione nodded stiffly, and Draco checked Ron and Potter's expressions to ensure they weren't jesting. You're joking. It's bonkers, Ron agreed. He's nearly as ineffective as Quirrell, with Potter nodding his accord. He's worse, Draco insisted. Much worse than Quirrell. And that says a lot. His tone shifted to a whisper. Quirrell might have stood a chance as an okay teacher, stammer aside, if he hadn't housed the darkest wizard ever in history on his head. That's no joke. We're losing a year of proper defense lessons. Who knows if we'll need them in the future? Yeah, muttered Potter. Especially if your dad comes after Ron's family again. Despite some lingering suspicion and tension, which Draco expected to heighten as the Gryffindor-Slytherin match approached, he anticipated they'd soon realize the relative bliss of a normal year was courtesy of his influence. Without the chaos of the Chamber of Secrets or other unwelcome events cluttering the academic year, they would eventually acknowledge his efforts. Draco hoped that the esteemed sacrifice he'd made wouldn't last forever. He considered it a long-term strategy, benefiting from current discomfort. One day, perhaps, he'd warmly refer to Ron and Potter as friends, at least in jest. He felt secure enough in their camaraderie to update them on developments about the mysterious diary, news he received via Severus. By October, the faculty had concluded decisively that the diary was a dangerously dark artifact and needed to be destroyed. Attempts to obliterate it proved futile and ominous, as the artifact withstood conventional destruction measures. Whether cut, drowned, or burnt, it survived all efforts, returning to its original state. Severus took on the diary as a personal project, seemingly finding the challenge invigorating. And every failed experiment, using various venoms and caustic substances Severus mixed, or supervised Draco in mixing, provided Draco valuable time with his godfather. Careful, Draco would suggest jokingly, earning Severus's signature scowl. Perhaps it's time to seek Professor Lockhart's superior expertise in dark arts. In retort, Severus often bemoaned that Draco hindered his efforts. Yet, one offhand remark from Draco appeared to spark inspiration. Another mixture of lethal concoctions failing in the stasis bubble Severus had secured it in led him to toss it into the fireplace in exasperation. Draco's mind wandered into memories as he watched fire dance. Sir, ever thought about fiend fire? Severus's head snapped up, studying Draco's expression. You're not even supposed to know about that. Draco returned a pointed look, thinking about how Vince had used it, albeit under dubious Hogwarts instruction in 7th year. "I'd never use it," Draco assured hastily. "It's terrifying. Just thinking of things, that seemed purely destructive." Severus frowned, then shooed him away. "Out," he barked, a sign perhaps of a newfound idea. The notion of fiend fire receded gradually, overshadowed by the untiring reign of Slytherin Quidditch practices and mirrored by Gryffindor's equivalent misery. Draco excelled in cleaning charms, something Potter evidently didn't, frequently spotting him emerging from practice drenched, frustrated, and trailing mud. Despite the diary incident, Draco couldn't resist openly mocking Potter's sodden state whenever he had the chance. One day, Draco overheard Harry lamenting to Ron, "No matter what I do, I always end up making a fool of myself in front of Draco." Harry's carelessness eventually caught up with him when Filch nabbed him for tracking mud everywhere. He barely escaped Filch's office, thanks to an implausible tale involving several ghosts, a string of coincidences, and a touch of blackmail. Draco had no interest in unraveling the convoluted story, opting instead to join Ron in mercilessly teasing Harry about being a celebrity even among ghosts. It was so entertaining that Draco began to seriously consider granting Ron the official title of friend, relegating Harry to the role of study partner / Hermione's extra appendage. As Draco spent more time with Ron, he found it surprising that Ron harbored jealousy towards Harry, despite his friend's fame, wealth, skills, and overall irritating perfection. If Harry hadn't been bothered by a jealous best friend, he might have just accepted Draco's initial offer of friendship. Draco understood why Ron would feel envious, as Potter's shine seemed brighter in most areas. Yet, Draco hadn't realized how Ron had endured those years, marching alongside Harry like some poor soul trapped in a strange echo of Azkaban, forced into a cycle of growing jealousy. Draco himself had suffered envy from a rival's standpoint, barely enduring it, let alone understanding how Ron managed it as a best friend, lacking even the rival's privilege to openly resent. However, Draco's intense jealousy towards Harry diminished, possibly due to Potter proving his worthiness with Voldemort's defeat, or discovering that Harry, too, despised his own fame. Or maybe it was Draco's experience with notoriety at Hogwarts, admiration mixed with fear, that increased after Terence Higgs's unfortunate visit to the hospital wing post-Slytherin trials. Even Severus didn't buy the claim that Draco hadn't cursed Higgs in his pursuit of a flawless feint. Bringing Ron into his laughter at Harry's expense, Draco kept the jabs less venomous this time. He made sure to point out the absurd level of devotion Harry attracted from fans like Creevy, which would only escalate over the years. Yet, as the Gryffindor-Slytherin match neared, Ron yearned increasingly for his own spot on the team, something that wouldn't come for years. Anyone could see how deeply Ron felt the bitterness, even though Potter and Hermione seemed blissfully unaware. Draco's nighttime Quidditch practices became an unexpected balm for Ron's jealousy. As Draco stepped into the role of Seeker, Severus extended his flying privileges from Friday to Sunday. Initially, Ron flew cautiously, wand in hand, expecting a betrayal from Draco. By the first Sunday, however, he was joyfully blocking Draco's poorly thrown quaffles with all the assurance of an older Weasley against Slytherin. "You're not completely terrible, Draco commented casually as their practice concluded, shaking his sore wrists after a session of futile quaffle attempts. "Color me surprised, but you really aren't. It seems you just lack self-confidence, don't you? Also, the whole bit about fearing me attacking you didn't help." "I was right near the hoop," Ron retorted, taking Draco's broom to save him from discomfort as they headed to the shed. "Everyone says that's where you hex the old Seeker. Who's to say that's just not your style of playing Quidditch?" "I didn't hex him," Draco protested. "It was a perfect feint. I don't get why people think I cursed him." With a couple of quick thuds, Ron put the brooms back in their places. "Well, that's what happens when you curse people. Eventually, they start assuming that's all you do." Ron eyed the Nimbus 2001 longingly on their way out. Draco might have considered letting him have a go if he wasn't worried Ron might break it. He remembered Ron's broken wand from their second year and mentally replayed the satisfying scene of Ron vomiting slugs, the pinnacle of Draco's fond memories. Even though he had inadvertently prevented the infamous car crash into the Whomping Willow this year, he still wouldn't trust Ron with anything valuable. Being a keeper didn't exactly require the fastest broom, anyway. As Ron boasted about his improvements, Harry grew visibly envious. Draco's dismissals of Harry's request to join them increased his frustration. "Sorry, Harry," Draco would say airily. "I'm against you in Quidditch, not him." Ron would smirk, feeling the satisfaction of having one edge despite not being on the Gryffindor team. With Draco's extended flying privileges, Ron reveled in the after-hours flying while Harry stewed in the Gryffindor common room. Harry, however, showed no envy over Ron's fame-induced invite to nearly headless Nick's Death Day party, which he felt obliged to attend after Nick's intervention with Filch. Even a ghost seemed thrilled at the chance to boast about acquaintanceship with a famous Harry Potter. "A Death Day party?" Hermione asked with interest when Harry, newly changed, joined them in the Gryffindor common room. The return of Draco to their gatherings demonstrated just how much ground he had gained with them, as Ginny scuttled by like she saw a banshee, squeaking and skittering away. Ron didn't jump to his sister's defense, only rolling his eyes as Hermione continued, "Not many living folks get that kind of opportunity. Sounds fascinating." "Why celebrate the day you died?" Ron wondered aloud, struggling with his potions homework to the point where Draco was tempted to rescue him if it wouldn't mean setting an unwanted precedence. Seems dead depressing. The Weasley twins, less hostile toward Draco now, remained silent in his presence. A pity, really, since watching them pull off some devilish tricks on a salamander stirred Draco's burgeoning preteen hormones. He found them rather attractive. Forcing himself to look away from Fred and George, or whichever one was destined for tragedy, prepping exploding fireworks for the amphibian, Draco offered his unique thoughts. "As a ghost, I wouldn't celebrate with a party for my death day. Instead, I'd reserve my best haunting for whoever wronged me in life. Perhaps featuring honey and badgers, should they be a Hufflepuff." Draco grinned at Hermione's indignant expressions and flicked a playful Medusa charm at her wrist, wondering if Moaning Myrtle ever threw a Death Day celebration. There was an unexpected explosion of the salamander, which prompted a level of disorder in the Slytherin common room that Draco Malfoy had never experienced in his years there. Despite the room's gaudy color scheme, he found himself oddly fond of it now. Despite the chaos, Draco was free from fear, even with the memory of a past Halloween hanging in his mind. The presence of Severus Snape was a reassuring anchor, assuring him that everything would be fine. A few nights before Halloween, Severus summoned Draco. Draco was slightly unnerved by the formidable power of Severus's legilimency, capable of nudging him awake through the thick castle walls. Still, he found solace in distinguishing between a mere tap for his attention and an actual mind probe. If Severus had any critical information from Draco's mind, he certainly wasn't sharing it with Dumbledore nor clearing Draco as his confidant in battling the Cursed Diary. Pleasantly surprising Draco was the continued access he had to Severus's storerooms, even after the Didney incident from their first day back at Hogwarts. Not just storerooms, either. He could stride into Severus's personal quarters and find him standing before a normal-colored fire, diary in hand. "There's a Slytherin sneaking around past curfew," Draco dryly remarked as he entered. Shouldn't his head of house dock him some points for that? His gaze, however, was fixed on the fire. "What's different about it, Severus?" Severus acknowledged his observation dryly. "Your skills may someday face greater tests than a mere change in flame color. Here, take this." He handed Draco a small, thick, cloudy orange-red vial sealed with a lead stopper. It was labeled liquid fiendfire. "Fiendfire can't be safely used within the castle," interrupted Draco's increasing curiosity, "and its unpredictability makes it unsuitable for my aims. After studying Fiendfire's magical construction, I replicated those properties in this potion. Any guesses on what's inside?" Draco felt anxiety creeping over him as he examined the vial, but pushed through. Maybe dragon poison or blood. Because fiend fire can seem almost alive, taking shapes like dragons, serpents, and chimeras. But I can't say what specific serpent or chimera parts you'd use. Perhaps a lion-goat-dragon hybrid? Severus's critical eyes pierced Draco's defenses as though testing them. You sound as if you've witnessed it firsthand, Draco. Shifting uncomfortably, Draco shrugged. I read about it, sir. For chimeras, only the egg is feasible, Severus explained. Very tough to come by otherwise. For serpents, an egg of the Ashwinder. Exactly, Severus agreed, showing no surprise. What about the dragon? Racking his brain, Draco guessed. A Hungarian horntail for its large flames? A reasonable deduction, Severus acknowledged, but incorrect. It's the Peruvian viper-tooth. Because it causes dragonpox, Draco realized, making it most toxic to humans? Precisely, and its venom complements the potion's antimony, Severus confirmed. What else is in it, sir? You needn't know more, Severus cut in. I've come to understand you well, Draco. I am certain of your desire to recreate this, but should this be successful, its danger necessitates secrecy, especially from rash second years. You need not know how to acquire or prepare the ingredients required. What you must know is how we destroy the diary. Shields. Draco quickly inquired, catching Severus's eye. So eager to display your Gryffindor sweetheart's influence, are you? I trust you're not like this in all your classes, Severus sniffed. Draco, always wary of attention, preferred being enigmatic. Yes, guards. I've prepared a multi-tiered shield around the fireplace to be triggered vocally once infused with the liquid fiend fire. With a wand flick and muttered spell, Draco's face was covered as if wrapped in a translucent sheath. A bubblehead charm. Both of us will wear them to guard against any fumes escaping. Draco, observing this is a privilege granted for exposing the diary. If you're at all unsure about witnessing this dangerous act. I am, Draco admitted abruptly. I mean, I'm not ready. I should stay away from the fiend fire, he confessed, catching Severus in an uncharacteristically surprised stare. Though feeling cowardly, even disappointing his godfather, Draco trusted Severus to confirm the diary's destruction. Meanwhile, the flickering fire seemed to warp familiar features into demonic ones. Severus flicked his wand to dismiss the bubblehead charm. It was clear, despite Draco's persistent participation, Severus hadn't anticipated his fear at the final moment. Then leave for the Slytherin quarters from these chambers, Severus instructed. Fleeing, Draco imagined fiery tendrils gaining on him, sensing warmth nipping at his heels. He paused to cast a Lumos spell, even casting Protego several times, but only found shadows stalking him. Once in bed, without the alarming hallucination of Hogwarts Express's first year, the heat dissolved into imagination. Changing into his pajamas, he cast protective spells, then clung to Amugi, burying his face in her fabric, focusing only on her smell, tactile comfort, and shutting out terrifying imaginings. However, his thoughts inhabited a realm he found inescapable, enduring just as incessantly as his physical presence. Even that faint echo of temporal escape to the vivid red horizon had made it abundantly clear. No matter where or when he ventured, he remained tethered to the realm of his mind. Come the following day, Severus relayed that the fiend fire had at last met with success. At the expense of Severus's own hearth, this ferocious blaze obliterated every last remnant of the cursed diary, ensuring it was eradicated once and for all.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!